Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fringe podcast, hosted by Imperial Golf. We're here.
It's a song now.
Do that again. That was terrible.
That's a jingle, I think.
Do that again. Fire me if you don't like it.
Yeah.
No, we're
Can't fire you if I never hired you.
That's true. That is fair.
Will work for lessons?
Yeah.
Or what's your sign
It was
on the
actually
street?
weirdly
Kinda.
not a burn on you and more burn on me.
Yeah.
'Cause I can't afford you because you're that good.
Yep.
Sure.
You
nice
are.
spin. I like
Yeah,
it.
you're welcome.
No, we're back for we promised last week episode 1 with our friend Steve here. We're man, it was good.
Yeah.
The whole episode was really, really good, and we didn't want to just run it all in one and have everybody drop off halfway through. So I'm excited to pick up part 2 of our conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I could babble on and on about what we're trying to do with the foundation, but I hope people love this part because we touch on some things that
Part 2
a
is
little more deep.
arguably more important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
Yeah, so if you've got family, friends who are first responders, please tune in, forward this episode to those who might benefit from the organization and the foundations that Steve's been working on. It's some pretty cool stuff. So let's jump in to where we left off last week.
So obviously you had your job, you were kind of doing golf, baseball, this stuff. Like what sparked the YouTube venture for you?
Well, it's kind of related to the coaching. Trying to find videos on YouTube to maybe relate what I'm trying to tell the high school kids. Hey, go watch this. And so I'd send them a link.
Okay.
And so in 2017, kind of this is how it all kind of got started, if you want me to tell this backstory.
Oh, of course. Yeah, please.
Ryan, who's on our foundation board, you might have met him before.
I think so.
Stocky guy, strong upper body guy and legs. And he's from Manhattan, Kansas, so we won't hold that against him with K-State and all that. But anyway, he had just went through our peer support class. It's a 40-hour class.
Okay.
And at that time, he was newer on the job, probably only 2 or 3 years. And so playing golf with him one day, I think in the middle of June of 2017, so before the national tournament that I talked about and that I won. So, I knew something was different with me. And so I opened up to him and said, Riker's 4 at the time. I said, I've been yelling at my wife and kids and my son for no reason. And he goes, Steve, you don't realize what this job's done to you, do you? And at that time, about 20 years on. And so it's like the light bulb came on, the lights that were shining on us. The light bulb came on. It made me do some soul searching and self-awareness that I like to use in my videos. And, we talked a little bit more that day, and I went and saw my family doctor and got on some Paxil, and that calmed me down. But the self-awareness is the key of not taking, when you're feeling that stress from the job, it's called allostatic load is what I was dealing with.
Okay.
And it's the cumulative effect of everything that we've seen.
Okay.
Even me describing those calls, running the homeless people, and not necessarily the traumatic calls that we run.
Right.
I didn't realize that was what was changing me. I'm hypervigilant, which if I hear a loud noise, I'm the anger that I would take home and take it out on just the smallest of things with my family. So if it wasn't for Ryan, none of this would be where it's at with the YouTube channel and the foundation. So being on that Paxil for that golf tournament kept me calm. So that was help.
Performance enhancer.
Yes. I didn't like the side effects.
Steroids.
Yeah.
So I got off of it and just doing it all on my own. I do think I do want to get it. I need to, there's other, you've met, Brianne with KC Golf Girl. She does that at Shawnee Mission or Advent Health now. And she said, when I've talked to her, at one of your events out here. She said, yeah, there's others out there that won't give you those side effects. So I probably wouldn't be opposed to trying something else in that, performing enhancing drugs. So
Yeah, try HGH. Maybe who knows? No, I have personal experience by way of my wife, who was on Paxil for a while, and it was not good for her. I'm probably the wrong person to talk to. I'm kind of cynical about antidepressants. I know they do work for some people, but I watched her turn into a zombie. She's this happy, bubbly, outgoing, gregarious personality, and she just went, for
I agree.
like 2 years, and just became a zombie, and we were dating at this time, so this is a long time ago, and it put a strong distaste for that stuff in my mouth, because then I watched her go through withdrawals, not getting off of it properly, and I just thought, nah. So I have stayed away from that stuff and tried as much holistic help for my own mental health as I can, and that's the beauty of YouTube, is you can use that as a resource to try and up your vitamin D and up whatever you think you're lacking. I did cold water therapy last winter, because I'll deal with like seasonal depression during the wintertime. And I found that if you're consistent with it, I call it my idle. So like I would usually idle in kind of this negative mindset almost in the wintertime. And I felt like I was idling a little higher during the wintertime. So it's about the time of year where I need to start taking cold showers again.
I agree. I agree. I was idling a couple weeks ago really high. So I agree.
Yep. So that's interesting that's what kind of sparked it. I think it's a testament, though, for you of being self-aware enough to kind of like start that process, because not everybody obviously is.
No, and that's the goal with the YouTube channel, the Instagram. I don't do the TikTok that much, but just trying to use all social media to get it out there. Someone might see it, might resonate with them, and help them tell my story. So again, searching for things on YouTube, thinking I can start something up. And if you've played golf with Garrett, and so have I, from GM Golf and Good, it's funny because the high school kids back in 2016 were saying, "Oh, there's Garrett, the trick shot guy." Well, I came across one of his videos in 2019 playing at Sunflower and Dubs Dread. I was like, man, I'm gonna watch this. He's playing courses that I play all the time, and I didn't pay attention to it 3 years before, but that kind of spurred me into thinking, I'm gonna try to do something to get the message out there, and golf is my modality to help me decompress and recalibrate. And then lo and behold, I finally plunged in with a lot of trepidation. I didn't know how to film. I didn't know how to edit. I had to, again, we use YouTube to learn all that stuff. So I jumped in and started telling my story, and I didn't know where it was going to go. It was just the Firefighter golf.
Yeah, right.
At that time. And then Andy from Kansas City Country Club, the head pro there, reached out to me.
Oh, okay.
I think he was friends with Ben and them from some guy's backyard. You remember that backyard golf course that I?
Are they not doing that anymore?
They still are.
Okay.
It's still, they keep it up, but they don't promote it like they used to. But so Andy was out at some guy's backyard. Was the first person to get a hole in one out there. So Andy Fisher. I clapped on it. So I don't know if Ben helped spur him contacting me, or he saw what I was doing. Well, as you guys know, PGA of America, it has the PGA Hope for the veterans in the military.
Okay.
And we met for lunch, and he said, Steve, let's get you going in that first responder realm, get the cops included, the EMS. And I said, yes, it says it on the YouTube channel. I'd love to play golf with them too, even veterans. But, we don't help veterans because I'm a first responder.
Right. Yeah, sure.
And so we were going to meet the PGA of America Midwest Section Board, and just COVID was happening in 2020. Never could get around to doing that. And so we met again for lunch, and he said, just keep doing what you're doing. And we talked about it. And I said, I'm thinking about starting a foundation in myself. Kind of, because he goes, yeah, the blueprint's already there for you with what we do with PGA Hope. I put my own little spin on it. The best I can. And so I applied for the foundation status through, the IRS, and got approved. And We've had 4 tournaments to raise the money for what we're trying to do, where we pay for local green fees for first responders.
Cool.
They don't need to come to us with a crisis. We can direct them in the right direction now, because we've networked with people through these 4 years, just like we have with you guys.
Yeah.
And one, trying to grow the game,
Right.
a game that we all love here, and then 2, trying to get them help. But I think the stigma is still out there. A lot of people don't reach out for the help. I've had a couple people.
Yeah.
I had a guy from Texas reach out to me. Pretty cool story. And his name's Chad. He called me, said, I'm starting to get in the game, or he actually messaged me through the foundation's website. And he said, I'm starting to get in the game again with my son, and my clubs aren't new or anything. Do you have any way to help me out with clubs? And I had a 2015 set of irons that were still pretty good. And so I sent him those.
Nice.
With a T-shirt and stuff.
Cool.
That's nice.
And then we paid for him to come up to play in the tournament
Oh, cool.
2 years ago. And just to get away and experience being around the foundation. And he got up and talked. And the story he told me when we talked on the phone, when we first talked, was his problem is he ran a call where a baby, these idiots leave their babies in a car. He went mouth to mouth because the bag valve broke to do, for the CPR, give him breaths. So we went mouth to mouth, and all he remembers is how hot that baby's face was on his mouth. So that's his trigger.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I've talked to him periodically.
Yeah.
And then last year we had Andy, who is a wildland firefighter, retired, 74 years old now. And his wife found the website, and he reached out and said, hey, man, I want to see how I can get involved. And I think this was December of last year. And I said, you know what, Andy, we have our next retreat trip coming up. And we talked for a good hour, vetted him the best I can.
Yeah.
And let me talk to the board and see if we can extend an invitation to you, make sure we have room down in Phoenix. And the house was big enough, definitely, that we Airbnb out there, and we already had like 8 first responders going. And then he goes, hey, I'd feel more comfortable going if I invited my wildland buddy, Bill. And so we invited both of them, and it's been the best retreat trip yet. Tell the people out there, we do a retreat trip every year to Phoenix in February to March, where we take first responders out there where we're just playing golf. It's the fellowship, it's the love that you make with the friendships.
Yeah.
And we don't bring in a therapist to talk and get stuff out of them.
Right.
If they want to talk about it, great, let's talk.
Yeah.
But more casual.
It's more casual, enjoy the game of golf. But really, the best part of the whole thing is sitting around afterwards,
Yeah.
back at the house,
Yeah.
and hearing the stories from everyone.
Yeah.
And Andy's stories, me as a structural firefighter, hearing the wildland stories, I mean, those guys are badass.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I don't know if you saw my video yesterday that I posted. You did, because you guys said something. So Andy, that was him that reached out. His buddy George had died by suicide.
Man.
He told me he probably would have been lost if he couldn't reach out to me and Brian like he did. So there's the value
Right.
in what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the note about the doldrums of winter, and
Right.
if he hadn't reached out, and then I did that real talk video, man, I'll be honest with you, I was thinking of dissolving the foundation.
Just because you're not seeing the impact, or
It's a combination of, I know there's the impact out there.
yeah.
People have told me, just like Andy.
Yep.
Other people responded to that video yesterday and called me and said, keep doing what you're doing. It's making a difference. But for me, it's like when we set up events, people aren't coming. So is there still that stigma around mental health? They think that they come to these events that they got to be open?
Events are a challenge period now.
I would say in my opinion, it's less negative than that. I think it's that people just forget about things.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I don't
that gets
think,
frustrating.
I don't think there's as much stigma.
Okay.
No.
I mean, to put your mind at ease, I think it's more that people just have a lot of crap going on. They forget. It's nothing personal almost ever. you know.
And I try not to take it personal.
The challenge, well, I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying the challenge with any kind of growth of any event is that. It's like how the heck do you bring awareness to it and market it? And I think there's a lot of people out there that would want to support you. It's just making it more relevant, and that's the challenge, is how do you make it more relevant?
Well,
especially if they don't have a personal connection to it, because that's probably where you get a lot of relationships. Like the guys that reach out to you, there's an actual personal effect from that stuff.
Right.
You know, so people that don't have that connection, it's harder to get to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that they don't care.
Well, so in the last 2 years, I guess she was technically my stepmom, but she was married to my dad, and my dad passed away 2 months ago, both of them first responders. And what was incredible through all of the process of, because I never lived with my dad, so I was always steps away. But through both funerals, through visitations, through all that stuff, you start to see, the guy standing watch at his casket. You start to see all this stuff, talking to all these guys, captains who are coming up to you, thanking you for service, and they've never met my dad. But it's as heartfelt as anything.
Right.
What I have come to see over the last couple of years is the first responder community is tighter than I realized, but also probably not going to listen to non-first responders. So what you are doing is imperative for your cohorts out there, because the reality is if you're not doing it, if just somebody who is a mental health professional, somebody who is a golf coach, me, anybody else was trying to do what you're doing, it's not going to work.
It won't get the
because
traction.
you're not them, right?
Right.
You are them. They are you.
No, I agree.
So here for me, even though my dad, my stepmom, were fortunately didn't go through a lot of really gnarly stuff. There are a lot of people I know who have. My uncle is a cop. I've got a nephew or a cousin who's a cop. They've gone through some stuff. And so I appreciate greatly what you're doing, because I know those guys are going to listen to you, will never talk to me, will never talk to a therapist.
Yeah. Are you tapped into that community too, law enforcement, or is it heavily just focused on firefighters?
We're tapped into law enforcement. We have and through another cool backstory through all this, when I started putting the videos out there on Facebook and Instagram, and I had a friend of mine from high school that I went to high school with that retired from Bonner Springs, Kansas Police Department. And he sent a message to me on Facebook, says, "Steve, what the hell are you doing?" I mean, that's the way I read it, I guess. But it was like, it was the way it was written, so the way I interpreted it. And I said, "Tim, I'm just trying to tell my story." And he goes, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you." So I hooked him up with our peer support team leader for our fire department, who is a therapist as well.
Yeah.
She's a paramedic on the job, and so he's helped her immensely. And so bringing us back together, well, he works at Falcon Lakes. He's good friends with Chuck Burton, who's one of the owners of Falcon Lakes, and Chuck has been one of our biggest supporters down in Phoenix. We go down there, and he hosts us at his country club that he belongs to, which is Invited Clubs, which is the national. And and here's a cool thing with Chuck. He's on the board now because we needed a business savvy guy to help us. So part of my frustration, John, also is the financial backing to do what we want to do more, which is, and it's not in the bylaws yet because we don't have the money to do it, is to be able to provide a couple of therapy meetings to a first responder therapist. So whether they're 150 a piece or something, we want to at least get someone going in that direction, because financial reasons could be a problem. But we just don't have the financial backing yet. And I've reached out to companies all around Kansas City, sent emails, explained what we're trying to do. And you just, we're not at that point this year to be able to donate. And I get it. But it just gets frustrating. So Chuck has got us, which will save us money with the foundation. He's got us partnering with Invited Clubs. So whenever we travel, we don't have to pay anything.
Oh,
Wow.
So down in Phoenix this year, there's 3 Invited Clubs down there, and we're we might have to
awesome.
just pay
Awesome.
just the cart fees, and
That's great.
That saves us $2,000 down to Phoenix
No
that time
kidding.
of year for
Yeah.
as many, and so that allows us to expand it
Yeah.
Yep.
and bring more people. So this year we have a Kansas City, Missouri fireman, and the rest of them are Kansas City, Kansas firefighters that are coming. The cop that we had backed out. He got hired for independence, so he couldn't come. Mm-hmm. But what we're going to do is I'm going to reach out to the local fire departments there, and I've become friends with fire departments down there through all this. I'm going to reach out to Gilbert and their police and fire and get their guys to come out one of the days, because that's what Chuck wants.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have a tea time with us where they can play. And so, yeah, the police, we try our best to get involved. We have another guy on the board, and he's the one that's just got hired at Independence Police. He was at Gladstone. And so he's on the board. He played D1 golf at High Point in was it North Carolina or South Carolina?
Oh, I don't know.
It's one of the Carolinas, but he's from that area. And so, but he lives here now. And so, yeah, we try to get the cops involved the best we can, but I'll be honest, they're harder to crack.
It can be. Yeah. Yeah.
So probably a dumb question, but like, is there any established programs or funding that can come publicly for stuff like that? Like, I mean, knowing what first responders and law enforcement go through, is there, I'm not saying it's the answer, but is there like any kind of public funding, like county, city? Like,
I've emailed 20 of our state reps in Kansas, and the 4 or 5 that got back to me said there's not money for that. There is for veterans.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. Why I'm trying to do what I'm doing.
That's ludicrous
for the first
because you're
responders.
Experiencing the same thing.
Well,
100%, John. And
Right.
go ahead, Duke.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say there's probably grant money available.
I've checked.
Like government,
It's
wouldn't think.
for veterans. There's nothing for first responders for
Yeah.
mental health.
Wow.
I've looked. Now, maybe I can hire someone, and I've looked into this where you pay someone like $3,000 over 3 months to just dig in. And the article I read is they end up making that foundation $30,000, and then you get maybe 10% more on top of your $3,000, and the
Right.
foundation still made $25,000 off of them finding grants.
Right.
But that was for
Oh, okay.
like something else other than first responders. And I've had 2 veterans tell me that they go, I don't know how you guys do it. I had a buddy die in front of me over the Desert Wars. Yes, it was stressful, but you guys live society's trauma every day that you work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And I never heard it that way.
And there's less support for it.
And there's less support for us. And it comes down to this.
Well, that's why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why you don't quit.
And so it was all a calling to me to start this up, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing to start all this up, and telling I just knew a story needed to be out there.
Yeah.
But you're also connecting with people in your profession all over the country, it sounds like.
Yes.
Which that means
Yeah.
something. It may not feel like it yet, but that obviously means something. That you have people reaching out to you, and
Yeah.
you're making real connections. That's really cool that you get individuals that get to go on trips with you or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, there's fires, no pun intended, but there's fires being started there in a positive way that maybe just haven't materialized yet too.
Yeah.
I think, when I first started it was like a sprint.
Yeah.
It's a marathon.
Yeah.
I got to just,
Yeah.
but what I've done is scaled things back a little bit. With Chuck on board helping us, he said, you got to get more of your board involved, which we have. So they have tasks that they have to do. So when we have our meeting, they come back to us and say, here's what I have. Cool thing is Jim Colbert, we're probably going to have him on our channel.
Oh, good.
So, and he's going to allow us, his son, Brian talked to him.
Okay.
I put that task on Brian, and they're going to allow us to take some first responders up to Colbert Hills.
Awesome.
So we might get together with Jim and maybe play one hole with him, because he says he doesn't play much anymore. He's like 86, but we might do a little semi podcast like this with him, just talking about his golf career, and people might watch it. But
What you really need to do is go on podcasts that people actually watch. That would help.
Oh my gosh.
yeah, but would I have the same amount of fun as we're having here?
Oh man.
But so one of our firefighters, again, this starts with the fires. It's slowly happening, and it's happened. things have been happening for a reason in these 4 years I've been doing this, meeting you guys, many others along the way. And that firefighter came from Manhattan. Mm-hmm. Well, he is best friends with Robert Streb.
Oh, no kidding.
And he's talked to Robert, told him what we'd like to do. So we're going to hopefully have Robert on the channel.
Oh, cool.
And do a match, him against, say, me and Brian or something, a scramble. And hopefully what that leads to is he gets his buddies on tour to want to come.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Connections.
And their name and the title's not going to help us grow.
No, but it brings people to it.
But you need eyeballs.
But when he puts it on his social media, it will bring the eyeballs. And I've always said this. This is the most important thing for me, because when I was on Garrett's channel, I went through and read all the comments, commented to a lot of people, but mainly the first responders that commented. I've become friends with probably a dozen people from that video.
Yep.
The eyes on the mission is the mission.
Yeah.
It's because those first responders, we've had 2 of those guys I've become friends with on retreat trips.
Yeah.
One from Atlanta area, one from Arkansas. A cop always watches it from LA area. He comments all the time. I have a retired Atlanta driver comments all the time. So point I'm making is, once we can get the YouTube growing even more, excuse me, beer burp, I'm not going to be as popular as, Garrett and them. But my point about that is, if I can get those guys to want to do a match between first responders, you and I have talked about this before.
Yeah, totally.
Can you imagine the pool of the eyes on the mission?
Oh, totally.
Sure. Not only first responders, but people that might want to financially help us.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think, to Duke and John's point, it just you got to keep hammering away at it, man. I mean, I get my sister's an RN, my mom's a med assistant, and I think we all have connection through friends and family that are in that industry, and we have huge hearts and passion, but like what Duke was saying is it makes perfect sense, because me talking about my mental health struggles, I talked about this on your channel. I'm like, I had some issues with mental health as a teenager and was suicidal, but I didn't deal with the trauma that is connected to your job. And while, that may resonate with some folks, it's not going to filter into the demographic that you're reaching out to necessarily. And so I think as you continually chip away at it, and you've gotten a few people that it's clearly impacted, and I know, just knowing you over the last few years, how good that makes you feel. And I get the sense of urgency you have, because it's you're like we see with veterans through social media and the suicide rates, and it's I think it's worse with first responders at this point, if I'm not mistaken. It's just crazy the lack of attention that gets to me, and so I'm just so grateful
up on my phone here. So
for a person like you that's taking a mission like this on.
Because of what you just said, JT. So that video I posted yesterday.
Yeah.
There's a guy that I befriended through all this, just like you guys, meeting people. He worked for Chicago Fire. Now he's out in Las Vegas, but he runs an organization where he keeps track of firefighters dying by suicide, not first responders, but just firefighters. He told me 22 losses in 15 days.
Oh, wow.
That's just suicide?
Yes. For firefighters. Now, I think it's probably worse for police.
Maybe.
It could be.
Yeah.
And if it's 22 a day for military?
Yeah.
22 a day.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hard to fathom.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
It's clearly the pandemic no one wants to talk about.
Yeah.
And obviously this is, John's joking about how small our podcast, it's some kind of token to get you another viewpoint, and who knows when you're going to cross the right person's path. I'm a strong believer in everything happens for a reason.
Yep.
And so I've got firm belief that there's going to be a breakthrough at some point, and I'm just...
Man, if you have enough little guys helping you,
right,
a lot of little people becomes an army.
No,
Yeah.
So don't forget that.
Yeah.
I mean, our podcast is piddly sticks, but if you find 100 of these, it becomes a strong message.
I mean, when we all share it on the social media, again, someone will watch this and it's going to impact them, even if it's that one person. And that's what everyone trying to pep talk me yesterday. And I was never really down yesterday. I was teared up. Actually, the irony of that is I made a video before that and I was crying too much, so I did another one. But
I'd be the same way.
You could see it in my eyes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And whenever something like that happens, I do those real talks because it needs to get out there. But people were calling, seeing if I'm all right, and great. Yeah. I love that. Yes, I did tell you that I've been down the last couple of weeks because of it's events that we're trying to plan, and it just gets So that's why I'm saying I need to scale back and step back a little bit, and do what I know is working.
That's also a normal human response.
Yeah,
it's like
totally.
I'm dealing with nothing traumatic. I'm just trying to survive a small business, and I go through that. So I can only imagine the scale of it when you're dealing with actual traumatic things.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
so
let me say this.
I've hit a crossroads in business 1,000 times over, as he knows.
Right.
So
Okay.
you're not alone.
Right.
And you're doing it for something that matters more.
Right.
Right.
I'm just trying to keep a business alive, which really has no, real deep meaning to it. Comparatively,
we're using this
other
game,
than
and I think it does, John.
I want him to be happy, and I want some people to be able to make a good living and be employed.
Make a good living, and then people you guys impact too enjoy the game.
But those crossroads are normal, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like don't make that a reason to be like, oh, I'm not sure that what I'm doing is affecting people positively. You're getting a lot of people reaching out to you.
Well, that's where I'm just going to scale it back and do what I know is working instead of trying to do too much. Yeah. And Duke, you might be able to comment on this. And, I haven't heard this from people. Maybe a couple people have commented on the YouTube videos. I think it was a cop from Chicago. And, oh, really? You're doing something about mental health? People are going to take advantage of it. But
great.
I like meaning, they're going to retire and use it as a disability. There's those people out in any profession. But what I'm getting at is people, I know you've seen this on other things. If you can't handle the job, then get out of it. And I've never heard that, but that's out there in other things. And so my answer to that, if that would ever come up, would be, how about we get the people the help while they're doing this profession that we love to help them understand what's going on up here to make them, one, be better first responders for your community.
Right
on cue.
And right on cue with the siren out there. Two, better fathers and husbands, so you don't almost ruin your marriage like I was going down that path. And then you can also be a better crewmate with your crew and not just go into a shell like I was doing for years. So I just thought I'd tie that in with you might be able to relate on that too, Duke, with your family.
I think there's just so much there, and I have thought many times over the years, not just lately with everything, as my dad passed and everything, but for years, it's like there are certain roles in this world that really need some of our best people. People who are compassionate, who are skilled, who are gifted, who are all the things that we just need them to be the best people possible. First responders are one of them. I also happen to think politicians are an area where we should have some of our best people and our people who are
That'd be nice.
Most servant-hearted. We're not there, clearly. But
ideally,
our first responders are generally some of the most gifted and servant-hearted people, and I think
they should be politicians.
There we go.
Yeah. So
just start at the city council level first.
Careful.
Or school board.
So we're well over our normal recording time, which is who cares? Great.
It's a meaningful topic.
But in a couple minutes, can you give us some really practical ways we can help you guys? Anybody who's listening. All 13 of them.
Yeah.
95.
Sorry.
There's several ways to help. The firstrespondergolf.org website has a donation page through PayPal or link. Come play in our tournament.
Yeah.
The shirt here you see, these are for sale. We have like 200 of them
Which is baller,
that we
by the
buy.
way.
I love
Yeah.
it, honestly.
And that's one way you can support us, buying our merchandise. And we don't have a store set up. You just have to contact me, and I can ship it to you and get it to you however, the people want. Playing in the tournament is a big support for us. And as you guys know, running your tournament for Watson Links, and
Right.
Yeah.
and it's a tough go to get people out there sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those are some of the biggest things. Are you guys doing the golf show this year? No?
Yes,
We
we
are.
are.
You going back?
Yeah.
Recommitted, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we're
we'll be there.
going,
Okay.
and there's another way. People stop by the booth here in Kansas City, and you can buy the merch there. And
Love it.
PXG is going to do one day with us because we've partnered with Alex out there at the PXG store. They're going to come do a PXG day with us and put stuff in the raffle that we do, like Dubs Dread puts a foursome in
Okay.
for us to raise money. So, but
Okay.
yeah, that's
That's
about
great.
it.
Well,
we can donate
do you-
some
do you
lessons
have-
or something to
Yeah.
you too,
Okay.
just to add to the raffle.
Yeah.
So
we'll
Whatever
throw-
we can do as a small business.
We can do a
Yeah.
Imperial
Yeah.
Day on one of the other days,
There you
Yeah.
go.
Do you have specifics on tournament? Like for
It's-
people? Like do you have a date
It's
for this
July
coming year?
28th this year. We had to move it
Okay.
up a week because my wife, for some reason, the schools are going back early next August.
early August.
Yeah.
Wow.
August 5th is when she has to report back, but the kids go back the 13th. But
Okay.
So,
So
July
she-
28th.
July 28th at Falcon Lakes.
Oh, you
It's-
did at Falcon. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're going to stay there
That's a
another
great
year
course.
probably because Chuck and Marty have been
Yeah.
Yeah.
wonderful supporters of the foundation, and we want to
Awesome.
show them some love back.
They're good hosts too.
They are.
Yeah, they are.
We had ours there. Our last one.
Yeah, they're good hosts. They do pretty much everything. And
July 28th at Falcon Lakes.
yep. And
Do you have a time?
it is. We're debating on the time now. Try to
Okay.
beat the heat.
Well,
we might
yeah.
move it up to 8:30.
Let's talk about a
instead of
website.
9:30.
Where's the website where they can find all this stuff?
Yeah.
FirstResponderGolf.org.
Okay.
Okay.
You can also follow the Instagram Firefighter Golf and the Instagram First Responder Golf Foundation.
Okay.
And I talk about when I release that on March 1st every year when we open it up.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Good to know.
Well, we'll try to get some of those links into the show notes and the
Oh, yeah.
YouTube
I'll add
channels
that.
and all that stuff. So that is very, very cool. Well, I think you heard from all of us big encouragement for what you're doing, and it's needed. Probably more than all of us know.
Yeah.
appreciate it. And that's what I need is that, I
Yeah.
guess, pep talk because it's
It's
just
hard.
with my own anxiety issues, it causes
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
But I've learned how to control it now a lot better where it doesn't impact my family.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the last message I'd love to give to everybody. Just be self-aware, love each other, man, just like we do here in this room. And you'll be in a much
awesome.
better spot.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you're watching this and you aren't tied to a first responder, take a minute, really think about some of what first responders do have to deal with, whether it's, seeing people who are, we kind of joke about some of the homeless calls and some of that stuff, but I know in hearing stories from some of my family, those can be also the most kind of gut wrenching and turn you into the most cynical person. Just seeing that kind of stuff over and over again too. So
You said it.
So take a minute. Really, really, please do think about and consider what our first responders go through, and if you can support anything they're doing, especially anything that helps them be healthy and in a good place with their families. It's a big deal. So,
Amen.
It's not a light thing, obviously, that we're taking this time to talk about it. So,
Right.
very good. Well, we appreciate the golf stories. I wish I was there for that round because, gosh, that sounded fun.
I only remember the
entertaining.
first 5 holes.
Yeah, I know, but man. But thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having
Yeah.
me, guys.
Thanks for
Yeah.
coming.
Yep.
It's a pleasure.
Good to have you.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, make sure you're following. We'd like to get that. If we're at 95, subscribe. Man, we're so close to 100.
Get to 100.
Heck
We got to
yeah.
get over 100. So we need at least like 6 of you to share this with your friends, so we can get over 100. But no, this is this one in particular. This is a big message that needs to get out there. If you know some folks who are families of first responders or tied to first responders in any way, or might know some people who can help, please make sure you forward this on and get in touch with us. We'll have obviously our contact info in the show notes as well. So, but with that, man, holiday season. It's another tough time for everybody, but especially those who are struggling. So hang in if you need some support. Give these guys a shout.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
we'll see you next episode.
Love it.
Bingo.